Good morning, everybody. It is 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Please excuse the slightly messy hair. I'm kind of still just waking up and I've been working for about an hour. I'm on my first break of the day and I'm starting this vlog very late in the week because the last couple days have been just kind of bonkers nutso. Anyway, let's go over what's been going on. So I said in the last vlog that I was starting magic lessons. I haven't really picked it up in the last couple of days because I've been a little busy. Yesterday I streamed and that was really fun. I had a good time. The day before I had the day off and I just was very lethargic. I'm still kind of battling some lethargy, basically. I'm not 100% back to normal, but I'm getting there. I ended up doing a lot of stuff yesterday between finishing up work and streaming that I was very proud of for doing. So starting off really good. Today, I have a few things I would like to do. So first off, I want to record my review for Cycle of the Werewolf. And I think today during my lunch, I'm going to run over to the library because I'm fairly certain Robert is not going to be working today. I hope he's not. Just because I need to run to the library and return the book that I have because I think that as of yesterday, it is late. And I hate doing that, but I have not had the ability to go anywhere because Robert's been working a lot recently. Hope that today I can go do that during my lunch break and then come back home and quickly make my lunch and then get some laundry folded and sweep up the bedroom. But yeah, that's kind of my plan, and then obviously get through more of magic lessons. I'm really liking the book. I'm just a little too preoccupied to focus 100% on it, and I really need to get back to reading it just because I, for one, want to try to complete my TBR for this month. I'm still, with this book, I have 5 others still on my TBR for this month, and it's the 19th, so I don't have nearly as much time to get through all of them. It was one of my goals for 2022 to get both this round's and next round Battle of Bookish's TBRs completed, but I'm gonna count if I've read at least 3 books because this month in general I think was not what I expected it to be, with all of the emotional aspects that were involved with it that caused me to be very out of it for pretty much the first couple of weeks of the year. Otherwise, work on getting some more books put in my spreadsheet. I'm getting to the very end of my bookshelf. Like, I'm on authors with last name starting with W, which is a good chunk, so I should be able to get that done today. And then I should be getting all of the rest of them done by the end of the week, which will be really awesome. I'm really happy that I was able to get all of them put in, and my book buying ban so far has been going well. It's been really weird not like buying a bunch of stuff like when I go to the mall with my mom or when I go to, you know, like Target or something, and I usually go through the books, but I haven't. Like, I've made it a point where I don't even like really look at those sections when I'm there, and so it's been really weird to like walk by them and just not do anything with them. But it's also been like really awesome to see like that they're also not my biggest priority anymore. And I think that's like, I think part of the reason why I wanted to do this is I wanted to make it so that after some time I wouldn't like rely on the book buying as a serotonin boost of any kind, and trying to find other ways to kind of cope, especially with how this month has gone, where all I wanted to do is just buy some books to make me a little bit happy with everything that's gone on this month. But I haven't, and I think that that's a really, really big turning point for me, because that is very much what I had originally intended with this book buying ban. Good morning, everybody. It is almost 20 to 9 in the morning on Thursday, and I'm in the middle of work, but able to take a bit of a break because I'm a little bit caught up for right now, and so I'm figuring I'm just going to try to wake myself up a little bit by doing some of my tarot today. But I wanted to give you guys an update on how I did reading wise yesterday. So I did manage to get through some of magic lessons yesterday. I think I got about, I want to say like 50 pages or so read, which is a good start. I'm currently on page 166, and I'm still really enjoying this. I think though what's really interesting is that because this is the prequel to the Practical Magic story, I feel like there are maybe some inconsistencies, but I'm also basing that off of what I know of the movie. And I don't necessarily know if what happens in the book is 100% what happens in the movie. Otherwise, really liking it. I think that like my biggest issue is right now I'm just kind of in a bit of a slump, but I'm getting out of it. I'm feeling much better than I was earlier this week, which I think is going to help with my reading a lot. Like I'll be reading it more on my breaks than I was, so that's going to be really nice. Today though, I'm going to show you guys how I do my tarot stuff. Now I used to, in the beginning of 2021, post tarot based videos, but I decided to not really do those because I don't necessarily care for the way that I did them, and I also just don't feel like they got a lot of, you know, attention, audience, whatever. But there is something I wanted to show you guys. Now I showed this on one of my live sprints I did a couple weeks ago, but I have here the Ritual 2022 planner. Now this is specifically a tarot planner for people who read tarot so that they can do like a daily tarot spread, up to 3 cards basically. And a lot of times for me, what I do is what is the day looking like? What should I know today, whether it's something about how today's gonna go or just in general, what should I be thinking about today? And also in this planner, they have sections about, you know, how to build your birth chart when it comes to astrology. That has a cheat sheet for the tarot cards. It's got a list of all of the planet aspects, how the planets are going to be moving this year, when they're going to be moving, how is that going to necessarily affect other things. Like, for instance, as of today, starting at like 3:15 a.m., there was what's called a void of course moon, which typically with void of course moons, astrologists will say not to necessarily start any big projects or don't make any large decisions during this time because it could have adverse effects. Now, this was going to be taking place from 3:15 in the morning my time to 9:02 a.m. So it's already going to be done in about 17 minutes because it's about 8:45 right now. And also the moon looks like to be going into Virgo, which is interesting. So it's not a full moon by any means because we just had our full moon in Cancer a few days ago, which took me out completely. That, and with Mercury retrograde starting, I was very much in the dumps earlier this week, which I'm getting better now. I'm feeling a lot better. But I couldn't really figure out why I was feeling bad. Like, I realized it wasn't anything I was super anxious about. It wasn't that I wasn't eating. It wasn't that, you know, I was sick or anything. I just think that the planets were messing with my system, basically. But yeah, so the void of course moon is ending here soon, which is good. So like, it doesn't happen very long. It's usually up to like a day that this will happen. And then a lot of times it'll only be for like a couple hours. But void of course moons are important because they do happen often. Like, they will happen multiple times a week. And the reason, I think that according to this planner, they're called void of course moons is like for a very specific reason, like in terms of the path that they have in relation to the earth. Let me see. Yeah, so according to this, it's basically when the moon makes its last major aspect before moving out of one sign into the next. So basically when it moves from like where it was, which was in Leo, and moving into Virgo. So basically what happens is when the moon changes signs, like when it changes its placement in the sky, which basically in astrology, the sky can be broken up into different placements, aspects, and signs. When it moves from one sign to the next, so for this instance, from Leo to Virgo, that time in that border basically is when it's called a void of course moon, because it's basically moving out of one course into another. And it basically will go through that every 27 1/3 day, which is basically the cycle of a full moon. And essentially the void of course will happen about every 2 to 3 days. So multiple times a week this will be happening. So it's very important that you, like, especially if you're into astrology and you're, you know, trying to especially do magic on, you know, certain days, you know, whatever, that you pay attention to that, because if you're a witch like I am, the moon does have some effect on the energy surrounding around like a spell. So you got to be really, really apparent, if at least you think that astrology is, you know, important to you. There are plenty of witches who don't necessarily listen to the astrology stuff, and that's fine. That's part of their practice. But for me, as somebody that is very much aware of how the planets and the moon specifically affect my life in particular, I pay very close attention, or I'm trying to learn how to pay close attention to how these things work. So there's a little bit about me, but we're not talking about planets and stuff today 100%. We're going to be talking about tarot. So what's really cool about this planner though is that you have the ability to not only have, you know, the tarot spreads here. So you've got, you know, each day that's like a planner, but then you have the spread here, which basically like you would say like what your question is, what it is that you want to know. And then, like I said, you'd have up to 3 cards. I typically do a 3-card spread every day. So you would basically put the cards here, you would put, you know, what are the messages those cards are telling you, and then any kind of a reflection about that in a sense. Now, what's really cool about the one I have is that this planner, you can have a couple of different things involved with this. You can either get a sticker pack that basically has stickers of all the different tarot cards, or you can do what I did and get stamps. Now, I think the stamps are a little bit better because it's not necessarily as wasteful, but it has every single suit, it has every single, you know, major arcana as well, which major arcana are like the big, in a sense, character cards, like the Fool, the Death card, the Tower card, and then there's this, they have one stamp for each of the suits for Cups, Pentacles, Wands, and Swords. They don't have like the numbers, which is fine. I just basically write a number if I pull a suit card or a minor arcana card. It comes with the stamps, and then you get a little thing of ink, and you also get this like plexiglass, basically little backing. So you would basically put the stamp, which has a sticky side on it, on here, and then that way you can interchange them, you can like reuse them, and I just put them back on this sticky plastic basically that they come in, and it's very, very handy. Now, I typically will use the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck. This is my favorite one, so this is the one that I am also easily, you know, connected to. I feel like that for a lot of people that do tarot, there's a certain deck or two that they are very, very connected to, like they use the most often because it either speaks to them or it just seems to really hit a certain kind of way when like the messages come, whereas certain tarot decks, they don't feel like they understand the messages as well. This is that deck. So I usually take the deck and I shuffle this way about 5 times before I then take the deck, split it, and then I take the back half and I flip it because I read also reversals. Now, some people don't read the reversals of the tarot deck. And again, I'm basically with the intention of wondering what is going to be going on in this day. But, so there we go. There's our first card. But a lot of people don't read reversals, and that's fine. Like, you can read them however you want, because ultimately the way that you read your tarot cards is up to your interpretation. That's kind of the whole point of them, is that you figure out what your messages are based on what you read. And I will read both upright and reversal because I think that both have very important messages. But the first card that fell out was the reversed Ace of Potions, which that doesn't seem very good, but we'll see what that means. So it's like those 2, 3, 4, 5. And then basically I go through that whole shuffling 5 times, splitting, flipping, and adding to the front about 3 full times. Like, it's basically 3 sets. Like when like you're doing reps in a gym, it's like 3 different sets. 4 and 5, and then I do the split, flip, put to the front again, and after that final time, I will usually, if nothing has fallen out by that point, pick the cards from the top. So we got 1, so the next one we're gonna get is the reversed 5 of Potions, which, okay, that's me, like I'm sensing some very emotional things going on that are probably a little bit more negative. That doesn't necessarily mean that reversals are always negative. Reversals can sometimes be positive. It depends on how you read it. But for me, reversals are a little wary just because usually for me, they're not very good things. And the final card we're going to get is the Temperance card in the upright position. So basically now what I will do is I take the rest of the cards and I put them back in the box just because I'm not going to be using the rest of the cards for today. And I will also take out the stamps. So I will grab the cups one. Now, in this deck, the suits, the minor arcana, are called something slightly different. Potions, for instance, are cups. They have candles, which are wands, needles, which are swords, and presents, which are pentacles, because this is a Nightmare Before Christmas inspired. So they have their own way of basically like telling the cards. Now, every deck is going to be different. It's not always the same as your standard tarot deck, which, if you're not familiar, the standard tarot deck is what's called the Rider-Waite deck. And that basically is like, you know, every single, like the way that the tarot cards are supposed to be read. But these themed ones, specifically like this Nightmare Before Christmas one that's Disney, like created by like the Disney company, you know, they might change the way that the minor arcana are called because it's to fit more of the theme for the deck. So be sure that if you're going to use a tarot deck, you check the guidebook, and they should usually list in the front in like a notes or introduction to the deck itself, like let you know what is supposed to be what in terms of like when you're translating it from, you know, the theme deck to the Rider-Waite. Now, basically, like I showed you, I'll take the stamp and I'll stick it on here, fill it with ink. Now for this one, these are both reversals for the cups. So then what I do is I take it while it's upside down and place it in the spots. So 1 second, and I will show you what that looks like. Okay. So that is what it looks like. And I will also, because these are number ones, I will also write the number here. So for the first one, which is the Ace of Cups, I will write a 1, and I make sure, like I showed you, to do them in reverse because these are the reversal cards. Now, I filled out the other one as well. So then, like with the numbers, I will do a 1 for the reversed Ace of Cups and the reversed 5 of Cups. So then it's really easy to remove this. You just basically peel off the little stamp and I stick it back on the little plastic thing. And I do tend to get ink on me, which is not like a huge deal. It washes off pretty okay. But that is a hazard with using the stamps, is you might get ink on yourself. So now I have to find where the Temperance card is. What is kind of cool though is if you do look at them from one side, you actually can see what the heck they are. And they have it marked too, so that like you can see where they're supposed to lay. So when you peel it off, there's still like this kind of printed on marker so that you can see where your stamps are supposed to be. Fill it up with ink. And then we'll just place it upright this time because the Temperance card was upright. And there we go. And then just peel it off, stick it back on, and then close up the ink, and then we're good to go. So then I just close up the plastic, and then I just kind of press it in to make sure it all stays. And we're done with that. And then once I get the cards noted on my planner, I just take the ones that I had pulled and I put them back in the box. I always refer to my guidebook no matter what deck I'm using, because the decks also, for one thing, can have slightly different messages because, again, they are pandering more to a theme sometimes. But for the most part, the idea is it's pretty much the same. I just like to read what the guidebook specifically says because it makes it a lot easier for me to, I think, understand what's going on. But at the same time, I'm still like, I've been out of practice with it for a while, so I'm still trying to get used to doing this again. So we're just going to basically go through, you know, what it is. I'm not going to necessarily tell you guys what my spread exactly means because that's going to take too much time and I've already spent a lot of time on this. But this is basically how I do my tarot reads every day. And this is pretty much how I use my ritual planner that I got. I will say this is a little pricey. This whole thing with the planner and the stamps was about $100. The planner by itself, I think, is $65, maybe $75. I don't remember, but it's a chunker. Like, it's a big, thick thing, and there's a lot of good stuff in here, especially for those of you that are baby witches. I don't think you really need this if you are a baby witch, but it definitely is helpful. And if you're willing to pay the price for it, I think it is definitely worth it in a lot of ways. Today is one of those days where I'm happy to be alive. It is 10:08. I just finished streaming. I loved my stream today. It was so fucking awesome. I had not only my friend Teresa in chat, which was always a fun time. I always love that she comes and watches me. But I had another friend come in that was a surprise. And he was just amazing. I just love him so much. I love how engaged he was. And then I had a new follower come in that, like, they were really excited. They came in, like, at the very end of stream, and I felt so bad. But I was so happy. Like, I got a little heated because we basically were talking about some pretty intense topics while I was playing The Sims, which is not usually the best of things. But, Princess, if you're watching this, please thank your husband for joining in on my stream because I greatly enjoyed it. He's a freaking riot. I love him. Streaming, while it doesn't always produce a lot of great results, especially when you're starting, there's some days when, like, random people just come in and they say that they really like what you're doing and they're interested and they're engaged. And, like, especially for me, if, like, I get friends that are in my chat, it just makes my day so much better. Because, like, I just enjoy it. And, like, my sister will sometimes come in and join chat, and it always makes me happy to see her, like, name pop up. And it's just, like, some days, like, streaming is just such a nice way for me to feel like I have some kind of, like, validation in life, as silly as it sounds. I don't know. I had a really, really good stream today, and I felt so blessed and so happy. So if you don't follow my Twitch already, I'm going to make sure it's linked down below for you guys because I'm having such a good time over there. Like, the stream we had today was really fun, and, like, it's a whole new thing where it's very story-based now, and I'm so excited to see where that goes because it's going to be so fun. It's going to have a lot of audience participation and everything. So it's going to be a riot, and I'm just so fucking jazzed about it, truthfully. Like, it's just been a really good day. Not going to bed as of yet. I would like to read a little bit more magic lessons today before the end of the day. I did finally get to part 3, which is called Divination, and I am currently on page 217, I think. So I want to get the first part of this third part, the first chapter of this third part read, which I don't know how long it is. It's going to probably be pretty long because the one thing I'm going to say about the way this is written is it's very similar to Stephen King, or at least some of his works where, like, the chapters by themselves are long, but they're split up into multiple parts and breaks. It's very much like that. So that is something to keep in mind. Like, I like that that's the way it is, though, because it gives me more of an ability to be able to stop in the middle of the chapter as opposed to feeling like I have to read the whole thing before I can stop. I'm just genuinely very happy. Like, today, like I said, is the best that could have gone because not only did the stream go super well, but we figured out that we could get the puppy on Saturday. And, like, we were gonna go and get stuff for the puppy before stream, but Robert did not end up coming home after going to the movie with his friends. He actually ended up going over to his friend's house to play board games, which I was like, hey, go have fun, whatever. It gives me the ability to make sure I can stream tonight. Tomorrow during my lunch, I'm gonna puppy proof as much as I can and get the stuff picked up off the floor so that he doesn't chew on it. And then, like, make sure that he can't get into anything that he's not supposed to, like, kind of help him out a little bit. So that's going to be my job for tomorrow during the day. And then Saturday, I'm going to go get him. And I'm so excited. Oh, I just want him in my arms right now. I want my puppy so bad. Hi, guys. So it is, hold on, I got to check the time. Just after 6:15 right now. I've just finished eating dinner and I'm in my library because I decided that I was going to sit up here and do a couple things. First of which was I finally have all of my library cataloged. All of my physical books are done. A few weeks ago, I already did all of my ebooks and my audiobooks that I had through, like, Audible. So, yeah. In total, between all of my physical books, the ebooks I have, including all of the ARCs that I had got from NetGalley when I was doing a lot of ARC reading through NetGalley, and the audiobooks I had purchased from Audible, I have over 1,200 books. How in the world? And that's not even including a few of the books that I have right here on this cart that I haven't done anything with because I honestly just now remembered that I have them, but I'm not worried about them right yet. Like, I'll put them in later. But I have like over 1,200 books total. That is insane. This is why I decided to go on a book buying ban because, and that's also not counting any of my witch books or any of the study material I have for researching on the mythologies or anything like that. Like that doesn't count that stuff. But still, 1,200 books, just all of the books that I have bought that are for like in reading, enjoyment kind of stuff. Like, that's insane. This is like I said, this is why I went on the book buying ban, because I have too many. I have way too many. And I keep spending my money on books, which is, yes, a part of being a book nerd and a booktuber, but at the same time, like, I don't have room. I have 4 stacks of books here because these shelves, these bottom ones down here, are taken up and I can't use them. At least not yet. 2 of them are full of my husband's stuff, and then we have at least 2, the other 2 are filled up with games because we don't have a space for our games yet. But soon we will, and I can get those open all back up so that, like, I can actually use those. But the fact of the matter is, I don't have much more room, if any at all, for more physical books. And then basically because of that, I was buying a lot of them on my Kindle, which is great, and I love that, but I was spending so much money. Like, I kid you not, I can look in my bullet journal and tell you just in the first couple of weeks of the year what I have been able to put away that would have been money I would have used to buy books. So in 3 weeks, 3 paychecks that I have had so far this month, including this one that I just got on Wednesday, the first paycheck I had about $384 split between my personal savings and my husband and I's joint account for the first week. Second week was $380, so already over $700. And then this past week, I didn't put any in my personal savings because I had to pay for therapy and stuff, and so I just basically had like some stuff figure out, so I just basically put all that I could into our joint account, and I put away $354. So I have already, in 3 paychecks, put away $1,000 almost for saving. None of that money has been spent on books. If I bought anything outside of like groceries and paying bills and stuff, it was stuff that I had actually either needed or wanted to get for a while, and they were things that were going to be useful. They weren't necessarily like complete impulse purchases. Like this week I ordered some stuff from Amazon that's going to be delivered tomorrow, and I got a little candle lighter thing where it's like one I've seen on TikTok, where basically it's like an electric current that you use to light candles, because I have some candles where like I'm a little afraid of using like my normal big lighter I have, and so I thought it might be nicer to have like one of those little electric current ones because it's not as scary to use, I guess. I don't know. I just really liked it. I also got a candle trimmer so that I could trim the wicks on my candles instead of having to use just napkins and stuff and, you know, causing the wicks to go super small. I got a statue for my altar that I've been wanting for a while because I would like to use the statue that I'm getting to pay homage to one of my guides. And so that had a practical use, and like it would make me feel better about my space in here. And then I also got some more command strips because I needed some more command strips to hang up stuff around the house. And one of my picture frames is a little weird when it comes to like how it sits, and it honestly might fall over at some point today. I will not be surprised, but it doesn't sit well on the wall, so I'm hoping that maybe adding some more command strips would be helpful with it. And then I also want to hang up other stuff that I haven't yet, so I need command strips. Anyway, and then the only other thing I really bought outside of like the stuff I would have to get for groceries and stuff was buying my friend Teresa birthday presents, which already got to her. So it wasn't anything too crazy. And like I said, I've been able to put away $300, more than that, more than $325 every week. I'm already seeing like a great kind of progress with that, which makes me feel a lot better about having done the book buying ban, because buying books was my coping mechanism with anything having to do with anxiety. And you know what? The funny thing is today, for some reason, even though I've had a really good couple of days, today I really felt like I wanted to just buy a bunch of books on Kindle. And I don't know why, but I do know that I was feeling a little weird today because there's a lot being in terms of preparation for the puppy, and I think it's been a lot of nervous energy that I've been feeling. And so like in order to help myself with that, buying books was kind of what I wanted to do. But I'm so proud of myself because this whole day I've had that like want and that desire, and I haven't even like done it. I haven't bought any books. I didn't do anything with that because I knew that there was, something else that needed to be taken care of. Like there's other things that money can go to. I feel very proud of myself. And I know that it's only been 3 weeks and I still have, this book buying ban is going until my birthday. So I still have like a little more than 6 months left to go of this book buying ban before I allow myself to buy anything. But I feel like this was something that I was kind of thinking would be impossible. And I'm just really proud to know that I can do it. Like I am able and capable of saving my money and breaking this habit that I've kind of developed over the last several years. And that means a lot because that tells me that not only do I have a lot more discipline than I thought I did, but I also have a lot of strength in terms of my mental stability than I did a year ago, truthfully. And I also feel like on top of that, I've been able to manage my anxiety so much more that not only was I able to finally stop therapy after a year and a half of sessions, but I'm able to get through this without having a breakdown. And today was like the hardest day in terms of that. And even then, it wasn't so hard to get myself to not buy anything. So it's just really interesting to see that like I'm doing great and I can only go up from here, basically. So today I haven't done any reading though. I am though going to be sitting up here and doing reading sprints and stuff because that was what I had planned to do in my evening. Robert's going to be home a little later than normal because we actually got some really good news. He basically got a new position with his work that includes a pay raise that I'm so happy that he got because he was really working his butt off to be able to do something like this. It's with the same company, and basically he's just, instead of doing deliveries, he is actually doing a lot of the maintenance work on the trucks that go out and do the deliveries. So that is like super duper exciting, and that comes with a pay raise, and he works 8 to 4 during the week and has the weekends off. So I'm actually going to be able to have my days off with him. And tomorrow we go get our puppy. So like things are really looking up right now, and it makes me very happy. But the reason I'm doing my reading sprints now is because I didn't really have much of the energy during my breaks today. I just was really lethargic, drank an energy drink, and I'm a little shaky. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I feel like I'm out of breath because my heart is pumping really fast after having just recently finished my energy drink, one of my Alani News. And I'm going to spend pretty much the rest of the evening dedicating myself to finishing magic lessons because I am still on page 238 and I don't have much of this book left. I have like 160 some pages. Yeah, like almost 160 pages exactly. And I think I can manage to get through this evening because the audiobook I have like just over 6 hours worth, but I listened to it on 2 times speed, so it's only going to take me maybe like 3.5 hours to get through it. Okay, so it is fairly late at night and I'm going to be a little bit quieter, but I'm going to try to boost the audio in editing. Also, the dishwasher is running, so I hope that it's not too loud. But I just finished Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman, and I rated it 4 stars because overall I think it was really good, but in terms of the Wicca inspiration that's involved in it, or witchcraft inspiration in general, and I think it's more so overall consistency between stories, I'm a little confused, because the thing with the inconsistencies is that in the movie, at least, because keep in mind I haven't read the actual book Practical Magic as of yet, so I don't know if this is ever stuff that's actually brought up in the book versus the movie, because I know that the movie did differ from the book in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things involved in this that, like, stuff that's talked about in terms of like what happens to Maria, especially by the end of this book, is not at all the same as what we know of her in the beginning of the movie of Practical Magic. Now, again, I don't know if the book is in any way different. I've not read it myself. So I think what's going to be interesting for me is seeing if when I read Practical Magic, like I read that book, when I get to that point in reading this series, how does it differ from the movie? Because this book leads me to believe that either Alice Hoffman has forgot a lot of stuff that was supposed to be in Practical Magic that was put in the movie or whatever, or the people that made the movie were very, very far off the mark when it comes to adapting the book. So I don't know whether or not to like feel weird. Like I feel really weird about some of the things that happened in this, because it just doesn't seem like, based on what I know of the movie and how Maria's life had kind of gone based on what the movie says, you know, it doesn't seem like it's right. But at the same time, like I said, the people that made Practical Magic, the movie, could have been so far off base from the book. So I guess we'll have to see what that does. But the main thing I want to talk about in terms of the witchcraft representation that's involved in this is something I do want to bring up, because I think that this does paint a very, not whitewashed picture, but a very love and light washed picture of witchcraft. Now, keep in mind that Wicca is a part of witchcraft, but the thing is that people that are Wiccan are not also always witches, and people that are witches are not always practicing Wicca. There's a very big distinction. I am myself a witch, but do not practice Wicca by any means. Wicca has a very set way of things, has a very, you know, guidelines and things of that nature. I am more of a kind of go with the flow, do what I think is best based on what I know of the properties of the herbs and crystals that I work with and I study with. So I don't adhere to exactly what Wicca does, and I don't exactly always adhere to the things that are involved with the Sabbats and the Esbats. I think that, like, I focus a lot of my intent on, you know, just bringing in, you know, light and love, but I'm also, you know, somebody who is appreciative of things like baneful work. And in this book, they do talk a lot about the idea of the left-hand path, or more baneful-based magic, revenge magic, versus kind of more love magic, light work, that kind of thing. So there is a duality that's brought into this. But the thing is that I feel like Alice Hoffman is very stigmatizing in this, in the sense that I feel like, unfortunately, she's succumbed to the issue that most people have when it comes to looking at witchcraft, which is the fact that it's either, you know, you're playing with black magic and it's nothing but, you know, curses and hexes and revenge and all these things, and then, you know, on the other side there is nothing but love and light and working with, you know, the natural world, and, you know, basically people saying don't do the left hand stuff because it's, you know, you're gonna cause bad things to happen. And there's a lot of mention of the threefold law, which is a very, you know, Wicca based philosophy and basically theory of magic, where, you know, and it kind of goes with the idea of karma, where what you do is going to come back to you. But in like in witchcraft and in Wicca, it's kind of this idea that what you put into the world and what you put out to, you know, other people, for instance, if like you're cursing somebody, that's going to come back to you threefold, or like it's going to come back to you worse. And not everybody that practices witchcraft believes in that. It's very much a more Wicca philosophy, and I believe that in some cases, yes, like, I have my own theories and philosophies when it comes to like my craft and my practice, but I am a believer that, you know, there is a little bit to do with intent. There's a little bit to do with, you know, knowing what it is you're using. And I think there's a little bit to do with some karma, but I'm not like every other witch, you know. I'm also somebody who, you know, not everything's based in intent. Not everything is going to come back to you. Not everything has to be roses and daisies and all these things. You know, there's definitely a lot of baneful witches that are out there that I think are doing good work because they're, you know, they're kind of like the Dexters of the witchcraft community, where they're, you know, taking out the people that are bad, that are causing harm, you know, whatever it may be, either to themselves, people they love, you know, communities, whatever it may be. So my point being is that I feel like this book paints a very stigmatized picture of witchcraft in general. And I know that a lot of people who read this are going to think, oh, it's just, you know, it's just fiction, witches aren't real, witchcraft isn't real, all these things. But for a lot of people like myself, it is. And when we see things like this that portray a very Wiccanized view of things, it is a little disheartening because not everybody practices witchcraft the same. And witchcraft isn't just a Wiccan practice, it's a pagan practice. It's, you know, and it's not even just pagan. Like, there's so many areas of the world that practice some form of witchcraft. And to have it where this story, while yes, is, you know, very rooted in English and kind of more American practices, because it takes place partially in England, and then we move to at one point kind of the West Indies, and then we move also to Salem around the time of the Salem witch trials. You know, like there's very kind of whitewashed-esque kind of practices involved in this. And unfortunately, I think that hinders a lot of the greatness that there is in this book, because it's got beautiful writing. I love the overall craft of the story. I do like the way that the story kind of went in terms of looking at Maria's story, but unfortunately, I think that this doesn't paint an accurate picture of the people that are involved in witchcraft today and how they practice, because there's a multitude of ways to practice. You know, some people are just tarot readers. Some people are just, you know, they work with the herbs. There's some people who have deities. There's some people that don't. There's some people who, you know, only work with vibrational energies. There's some people who only do, you know, baneful magic. There's some people who only do light magic, you know, and there's some people who, you know, have like a mix of them. There's people who are very eclectic in their practices. Like, they might take from different kinds of areas that works best for them based on, you know, their ability to obtain, you know, items for their craft. There's some people who are, you know, very rooted in their traditions, you know, if they're folk witches or something like that. There's so many different kinds of witches, that to see that this book that is all about witches, and for a lot of people is their first introduction to, I think, witchcraft in a more kinder manner than I think that, you know, most people associate witches with. It's really sad to see that this is very rooted in one aspect. I wish that there would have been maybe something involving a different kind of practice. So I will say, for those of you that are witches, that might be interested in reading this series, go into that with that kind of a mindset, because if you're like me, who, you know, is somebody that wants to see witches be portrayed in the way that we are, and how we're very eclectic, and how there are so many people from different paths that, you know, they create their own, or, you know, that, like, how we were just so many different kinds of people, you might be a little disappointed. But I think in general, the overall story by itself was amazing. I really, really liked it. I fell in love, like, from the beginning, fell in love with Maria. The one thing too I will say in terms of inconsistencies that's not going to necessarily spoil anything is that there's something that happens toward the end that I think really kind of puts a lot of the stuff that you would see in the movie Practical Magic on its head. There's something that happens that I think calls a lot of what happens into question, which again is why I'm excited to see what happens in the actual book Practical Magic, because I'm curious to see if either they get addressed, like either the things that happen in that book can be addressed by what happens in this one, or if to see if Alice Hoffman just really did not remember anything that she initially wrote in the first book, because Practical Magic came out in the 90s and this came out in 2020. So unless she read Practical Magic on her own before writing this, I don't know how, like, you could forget what happens in a story that you've written. So I'm hoping and praying that when I actually read Practical Magic that there's not many inconsistencies, because it feels like there could be based on some of the events that happened in here and some of the things that were divulged, especially toward the end of this book. But very happy with this. This was counting for my prompt for Raw for my team. So this is about 100, it's 50-point book for page points, and then it's 100 points. This is 150 points. And then tomorrow I'm gonna be starting Kith and Kin, which I'm really excited about. So I am gonna head out for the night and go to bed, because I have to get up early tomorrow to get groceries, and then Robert has to go to work tomorrow. And so for most of the morning I'm going to be doing reading sprints before I do sprints with everybody from Battle of the Bookish, and so I should be able to hopefully get through a good chunk of Kith and Kin tomorrow, probably at least half of it. And then I'm planning on doing more sprints after we get back with Oscar, which I'm so excited for you guys to see, because he's gonna be a bundle of fun. I know that. So anyway, I will talk to all of you guys tomorrow.
That's kind of what I was hoping would happen.
Oscar, yuck.
I told him too, I said straight up. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to.
You shy?
Robbie, I mean, he's been training his whole life for this job. I was like, he's got it. He's like, you think you can handle it? Oh, I know he can handle it. No problem, I think he can handle it.
I bet you he would love, once he can see, he'd love he'd love the laser.
He's got a blind dog.
For a little bit. He'll grow into his eyes.
I know. Did you see those eyes are different colors?
Yeah.
Good boy.
Good boy, Oscar.
Get the balls.
Go for the hands. And the ears. And the beer.
He's a ball chinian.
What?
Yep.
That's my boy.
Mr. Oscar. It's good morning, Mr. Oscar. He had a very good first night. Slept off and on, but didn't wake up too often. And he's already gone outside a couple of times and only had one accident in the house. And now he's getting all curled up for another nap, because it's so tough being a puppy. Alright, so it is just after noon. Robert, as of now, is just leaving with some friends to go see a movie, so I'm going to hang out with the puppy for a while. He has been such a delight so far. He has already had only 3 accidents. Nothing too much, just peed. And I think he's just getting used to telling us how he needs to go potty. So, because there's been a few times where he's whined and he's definitely gone outside like before he had a chance to go potty. So it's just a matter, I think, of us getting used to figuring out how he needs to tell us to go potty. But he's also napped several times over the course of the day today. He only woke me up twice last night to be able to go outside and go potty, and he just loves all his toys in his bed. And now he's gonna hide because he's very bashful. Oscar. He loves this little wolf that we got for him. Watch. Yeah, I think he's getting tuckered out. I can see he's getting sleepy. He loves to snuggle. He has been amazing. He's such a sweetie, and he just is so full of love. I'm so excited to see him grow up. He's gonna be so cute. But yeah, Oscar's doing super well so far. Super impressed. So I think I'm gonna go grab him and put him on his other bed that he has in the living room and let him take a nap. Yeah? You wanna take a nap?
Oscar. Is nap time? Is nap time? You wanna go sleep? I think it's time for him to go sleep.